Hi, my name is Lauren B. I am a writer, I am a psychic medium, and I am a homemaker based out of New Jersey. And today I want to talk about tarot, but specifically I want to talk about the women who read tarot. I have been in a process over the last year and a half of trying to rewild and refeminize my tarot deck. I read The Women Who Run with the Wolves, which was revolutionary reading. I think for any woman, but it was especially revolutionary for me. It really held my hand through the grief process of mourning my mother, which truthfully is a process that is never really over or done, but I definitely couldn't be where I am right now if I had not read that book. It also filled so many gaps for me in my own spiritual education as someone who really exists in between the spiritual and the psychological. It helped me build so many bridges to understanding where I was otherwise treading water. And as an intuitive, as a psychic, as a working tarot reader, and as an artist, as a creative, it really exploded 1,000 little windows in my mind and made me realize how inherently patriarchal the system of tarot is and how we read it. And I understand that this might not be a popular opinion, but I think that it might be more well received than we immediately think. When we look at the tarot as a whole, when we look at spiritualism, when we look at occultism, when we look at intuitive work, by large, the majority of practitioners are women. I'm not saying that there aren't men who practice witchcraft, that there are men who are tarot readers, that there are men who are extremely efficient and effective spiritual practitioners. There absolutely are. If you ask me, I could give you a list right now of 8 different men off the top of my head who I trust without question when it comes to spell work, when it comes to tarot, when it comes to astrology, when it comes to any of these occult-esque mediums or disciplines. But when I look at the world of spiritualism, when I look at who's giving these messages, when I look at the majority of the divine channels that are out here showing up and showing out for their communities, doing the channelings, doing the live streams, doing the readings, it's women. I mean, just look at your FYP, look at your YouTube subscription feed. It's probably majority women who are giving you these readings, who are putting on these events for you, who are channeling these messages, who are doing these pick-a-cards, that are doing these horoscopes for you. It's women. A little background about me is I majored in political science and foreign policy in college, and my minor was in women and gender studies. One thing that we constantly ad nauseum would talk about in my gender studies class was this idea of invisible labor. Like there is this secret underground ecosystem of women's work, and it's the things that no one acknowledges, it's what people do not see, and so it is also work that is uncredited. Women are the glue, essentially, in society. Women are the glue in the economy. Women are the glue in the home, right? And not everyone's home, but generally speaking, women are the glue. But when glue dries, it usually dries transparent, and it cannot be seen. And I reapproached tarot when I finished The Women Who Runs with the Wolves, and I looked at the system of tarot itself, the bones of it, the archetypes, the narrative story, the Fool's Journey, and I realized that the Fool's Journey doesn't make sense for women. Women actually don't operate through the Fool's Journey. They operate through a journey that's more closer to the heroine's journey. And there are several authors that have come up since Joseph Campbell's Hero's Journey and The Fool's Journey to say just that, to say, hey, there are a lot of aspects of these stories that do not apply to women. There are a lot of aspects of women's psycho-spiritual journeys that are much more nuanced and much more complex. And when asked about women's place in the hero's journey, something that was often said through Campbell was this idea of, well, women are where we're trying to get to. Women, they are the finish line. What a woman is, that is the magnum opus, and everything going through the Fool's Journey is kind of getting them to that point, which is why women in a lot of these fairy tales and a lot of the movies that you watch and a lot of the stories that you read, The women, they are these grateful, helpful mothers, right? Or they are these damsels in distress, these princesses that need saving. They are these external figures that are not quite active and engaged in life. They are waiting to be plucked or to be picked or to be received at the end of a finish line to knight you as the prince that you are. But that's not the reality of these women's lives in fiction, in faith, in myth, in reality, right? Women are the glue, even if it does dry invisible. And I think a really good example of where we see this kind of patriarchal influence in the tarot is a card like the Empress, right? Essentially, people talk about her like she's a sex bot, right? But the thing that's interesting about the Empress is if you study empresses throughout history, they're governmental roles. They can command armies. They have these huge social courts. There's a lot that they're responsible for. You look at the queens in the tarot, they're oftentimes always considered to be mothers. But if we want to say that the queens in the tarot are reflective of mothers, that's okay, but maybe they should be a more accurate depiction of what mothers are and what motherhood consists of. Because I don't know a single mother who's sitting around like eating bonbons all day. They are strong, they are resilient, they have the ability to push through a tremendous amount of pain, and then they get to go forward into a journey of self-actualization that requires the management and the multitasking of 1,000 different things, 1,000 different emotions, the management of different social circles, routines, the healthcare, the education, the like social progression of their families, of their communities. These women, they are showing up, they are showing out, they are planning and anticipating every possible need days, weeks, months in advance. They are spinning plates like they're in Ringling and Brothers Circus. And I don't see the reality of that motherhood in any of these tarot cards. I don't see the Empress showing up as a stateswoman, as a governess in any of these tarot decks. Why is that? Why do the kings symbolize mastery and not the queens? It's an interesting question, right? And it's not just the traditionally feminine cards like the Empress or the Queens. I've never seen the Chariot card with car seats in the back. About paid childcare in the Six of Cups. How come we never see feminine versions of the Hierophant? It's really hard to have a full moment when you gotta pick up your kids at 3. What about the Popess? Nobody ever told me that the Ace of Cups might represent my first period. And these are just a few small examples of the ways that I personally feel like the patriarchal influence has subtly seeped into the tarot and to our archetypes and to how we read the cards, which, you know, also mirrors how we read each other, how we interact with the world, how we interpret the experiences happening around us. It's like we're writing ourselves out of the equation. It's like we're writing ourselves out of the story, and we're happy to do it. And because no one told us that we were missing anyway, made us feel like we weren't peopling right or we weren't taroting right, when in reality, like, we are the majority here. And I think that the cards should reflect the experiences of our majority. Just like a few small examples of the ways I think the patriarchy has like subtly worked its way unknowingly to us into the cards and really like watered down the magic of them. I want to see a version of the Two of Cups that represents breastfeeding. I want to see a version of the Judgment card that indicates abortion. I want to see a version of the Six of Cups that illustrates women as the primary caregivers and caretakers of not just the young, but also the elderly. I want to discuss the disparity in gender roles that is in the Ten of Pentacles. I want to talk about the Ace of Swords being your car keys pushed through your fist when you walk home at the end of the night. I want to see your real life. I want to see your real story in these cards. When I see the High Priestess, I don't want to see her sitting lonely on a throne like she's the Oracle of Delphi, when I know that she's out in the streets, that she's out on live stream giving tarot readings to you and to me. I want to see my priestesses active. I want to see my empresses whole and fully developed. Nobody understands what the goddamn court cards mean. We only have like 3 keywords to interpret them because they're underdeveloped, especially the women. Why aren't we playing on the connection between the pages and the queens more? Why are we talking about their bond a little bit more? What if the emperor was a woman? These are the things that I'm interested in. These are the things that I want to talk about. I know they may be a bit of a strange conversation for the spiritual community. I know I am trying to do a new thing in an old place. No, this might not be everybody's cup of tea, but women read tarot, and I feel like the cards should reflect the women who read them, which is in part why I started the Women Who Run with Tarot book club last summer. I took every single chapter and every single folk tale in The Women Who Runs with Wolves, and I remolded them into explorations of not only the tarot, but the women within it. If you're interested in that project, I will link it for you below so that way you can gain a copy of it for your own review and reflection. If you want to talk more about feminist approaches to tarot, I would love to talk to you in the comment section. And if you are a woman who's looking for support in your spiritual journey, in your creative practice, I would love to work with you. I have a new session called Cosmic Mama that is exclusively for mothers who want to understand and support and uplift their spiritually gifted children and themselves as humans and as intuitives as well. I have a small series on Instagram called Women Read Tarot. I would love for you to check it out. And I do a lot of feminist mythology-based personal essays over on Substack, and I would just absolutely adore you if you read them. But I really appreciate you hanging out with me today and spending time listening to me yap about women and occultism and feminism and the ways in which we have the power and we have the agency to create a world of tarot that is of our own design and is of our own desire, because we deserve cards that reflect who we really are in our very real lives. I love you so much. Thank you for being here with me. Let me know if you like the style of like video essay that we're doing right now. We could do more of them, and I will catch you next time.